Welcome back to Hardball and the Politics Fix. Tonight, the Roundtable, MSNBC political analyst Michelle Bernard. And from the Washington Post, Cilizza and E.J. Dionne. So let's listen to Senator Clinton's comment today at an editorial board meeting in South Dakota about why she's staying in the race for president.
My husband did not wrap up the nomination in 1992 until he won the California primary somewhere in the middle of June, right? We all remember Bobby Kennedy was assassinated in June in California. I don't understand it.
And now here's Senator Clinton's clarification, if you will, a bit later in the day, very late in the day.
The campaigns that both my husband and Senator Kennedy waged in California in June in 1992 and 1968. I was referencing those to make the point that we have had nomination primary contests that go into June. That's a historic fact. The Kennedys have been much on my mind the last days because of Senator Kennedy, and I regret that if my referencing that moment of trauma for our entire nation, and particularly for the Kennedy family, was in any way offensive. I certainly had no intention of that whatsoever. My view is that we have to look to the past and to our leaders who have inspired us and give us a lot to live up to. And I'm honored to hold Senator Kennedy's seat in the United States Senate from the state of New York, and have the highest regard for the entire Kennedy family.
Well, one reason why Senator Clinton was so quick to try to repair that damage, if you will, was what the Associated Press reported right after her initial comment got out. Quote the Associated Press. Senator Hillary Clinton referred Friday to the assassination of Robert Kennedy in 1968 in that Democratic campaign as a reason she should continue to campaign despite increasingly long odds. E.J. Well, what's a fair reading of her intent there? Was it to say anything can happen, or was it simply to say these things tend to stretch on?
I'll tell you, the alternative is so bad that I really, really want to give her the benefit of the doubt on this. I mean, that she's tired, she's not happy with where the race is. A lot of us are, in fact, thinking about the 40th anniversary of Senator Kennedy's assassination. And, I still remember exactly where I was that night watching. And so I'd like to think that was on her mind, because it was a terrible mistake. It was a terrible thing to say. She clearly seems to know that. I mean, you saw her. She seemed shaken sitting in that supermarket.
I would just to add, regardless of the intention, the problem for Senator Clinton is she remains in this race largely out of the goodwill of party activists and superdelegates. If they wanted to, they could end this race tomorrow and put Barack Obama over the number that he needed.
Those people who have not taken a commitment?
There's still a large number of people who are uncommitted, several hundred. And what I think the attitude to these people has largely been is, let's let her play out the string. She deserves it. The Clintons deserve it.
Chris, you're a reporter. Will this affect that?
But Chris, can I add something to that?
Well,
Chris, I mean, this is a colossal mistake for someone who is supposedly as politically astute as Senator Clinton is, and I mean, it's not just the superdelegates here, but she is drawing on a very painful past in our history, and the insinuation that she should stay in the race because something bad could happen to Barack Obama, particularly coming on the heels of not only us finding out about Senator Kennedy having brain cancer, but also 1 week to the day of Governor Huckabee making a ridiculous assassination joke at the NRA last week. You have to scratch your head and say, what could she have been thinking about? I want to give her the benefit of the doubt, but I got to tell you, Senator Clyburn, gave an interview with the New York Times a few weeks ago, and or Representative Clyburn did, and said that the damage between the Clintons and the African Americans in this country might be irreparable. And today she might have dug her grave when it comes to her relationship with the African Americans that are members of the Democratic Party in this country. It was a very, very horrific thing to be uttered coming from Senator Clinton during this race.
And, Chris, the other thing I was thinking of when you said, will superdelegates start jumping, it was, remember that after Indiana and North Carolina happened, most people said, now the race is probably over, but it's okay if she stays in. She came out and said, well, white people are voting for me. And a lot of people, including many in the Obama campaign, said, well, if that's how she's going to play it, this may not end the way she wants it to end. Look, I think it is very likely this race ends with Barack Obama as the nominee. The issue is what happens between now and then. This is a bad development for Senator Clinton for the reasons Michelle outlined and for many others. A lot of, from now until June 3rd or whenever she makes a decision about the race, is about the Clinton legacy. How will she and, as importantly, her husband be remembered from this race? Neither of them are going to go away in politics. This tarnishes in some level that legacy.
Let's get into the instrumentality here. Could it be that a comment like this might be one sort of intangible affecting how those delegates vote in that committee that meets on rules and bylaws next weekend?
I think it pushes them in a direction they were already going. In other words, if you look at the makeup of that committee, Clinton's got 13 votes, Obama's got 8, and there are 7 loyal to Howard Dean or the Democratic Party. So there's already a majority for a compromise that doesn't give her all the delegates that she wants, that ends it. And I think there are a number of Clinton delegates who don't want to push this Florida and Michigan fight to the end. So that I didn't think they were going to give them what they wanted.
I know 3 of them. They are moving. These are people who've endorsed Hillary Clinton and will vote for her, but think it's time for a decision.
Right. And so I just think this will push it down the road. What it may do is accelerate the process whereby some of these folks, the committee comes out in advance and says, here's what we're going to do. They don't wait till the end of the month. They say, this is where we're going to go.
Diana Washington says, what a difference a day made. You never know how these things affect the election. We'll be right back with a roundtable talking about Senator Clinton's comment today about Robert Kennedy and the assassination in June of 1968. You're watching Hardball, only on MSNBC. We're back with a roundtable for more of the politics fix. Let's listen one last time to Senator Clinton's comment today in an editorial meeting in South Dakota about why she's staying in the race.
My husband did not wrap up the nomination in 1992 until he won the California primary somewhere in the middle of June, right? We all remember Bobby Kennedy was assassinated in June in California. You know, I don't understand it.
You know, maybe we'll go with the nice one. What do you think?
Well, I hope so.
She was simply saying that these campaigns tend to stretch out into June, like the playoffs in some of our sports teams, you know, like they just tend to do, and that was something to refresh our memory, that we do stretch these campaigns. It wasn't that she was saying, as the Associated Press reports, perhaps, the Associated Press reported right afterwards, Senator Hillary Clinton referred Friday to the assassination of Robert Kennedy in 1968 as a reason she should continue to campaign despite increasingly long odds.
Well, she was describing races that changed. I mean, I don't think the AP misinterpreted it. I just think that I just don't want to believe the alternative because it's a, you know, Michelle listed all the reasons why it's
playing for a break. In other words,
and
that would be awful.
We've long known. I mean, take the Kennedy thing out of it, and I know that's a big thing to take up, but we've long known that part of what Senator Clinton is doing here is waiting this out in hopes that something big happens to change it. Now, I would never suggest that this is what she is waiting for.
So it's a coincidence of what we think about her and what she meant. Your last thought here, Michelle, was it a coincidence of what people think she's doing, looking for a break, and a totally historic view of the timetable? It had nothing to do with that.
I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. I think that she is most definitely looking for something to happen, but not for Senator Obama to lose his life or for bodily injury to happen to him. But when you're talking about someone's life, there's no room to make a mistake. We've got to remember what happened to the Kennedys and what happened to Martin Luther King. This is a very historic race, and there is no room to make any kind of mistakes when it comes to talking about someone's life.
Yeah, I think a lot of us, you and my age, are clouded over with the idea this is too much like '68 already.
Yeah, no,
there is too much in our head of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, Michelle Bernard. Thank you, Chris Cilizza. Thank you, E.J. Dionne. Love your columns.